It has been said that if we compare the entire history of the Earth to a period of 24 hours, man only came into existence some seconds before midnight. And yet look what we have accomplished during this short time. The impact of humans has grown tremendously over time, and so has our understanding of our situation. What is considered an environmental problem today may not have been considered a problem at all just a decade ago. Our use of resources has increased by about 4 times since 1950. We use up our resources 1 million times faster than they were created. The war we are fighting is not only against nature. In the end, it is directed towards ourselves as well as future generations.
If we look at Earth from outer space, it looks like an island. Indeed, the same kind of metaphor can be used to describe important experiences in humanity's past. Islands have been testing grounds, a kind of laboratory for ecological experiments. For example, when humans first came to the Pacific Islands like Easter Island, Hawaii, New Zealand, about 1,000 years ago, they were very few. They lived on small scale, and they quickly became very prosperous on these islands. Now what happened was that as the number of inhabitants in these islands grew, they proved to become quite dangerous to their living environments. The island experiences has given us a lot of things to think about. Again, if we use this metaphor of the Earth, the entire planet as an island in the cosmos, we find the parallel particularly striking in the sense that there is no way to flee from this. We can't be refugees from our own planet in the same way as the inhabitants of these disaster islands couldn't leave their home ground. We are stuck here, and we have to cope with what we have. When we look at change in small islands, we can see that this change is rapid. We can see it clearly. It could be. It made people alert to these changes in the same way as we are now realizing that the planet is limited and that we have to be on alert to avoid future environmental problems. So I think in that sense there's a whole lot of there's a story to be told about the islands of this planet, and humanity today is like the fraction of population that used to live in islands like Easter Island, St. Helena, the Caribbean islands, Mauritius, and what we simply don't want is to face their fate. We want to reclaim ground. We want to do something sustainable with this planet in a way that they, for historical reasons, for lack of knowledge, for ignorance, and for greed, did not and could not do.
This is not a military campaign. It's just policemen doing their duty in a democratic society. Their mission is to protect and clear the way for a transport of highly radioactive waste to the little village of Gorleben in northern Germany. That's what this is all about, nuclear power. A majority of the German population believe that nuclear power is necessary, even with the potential risks involved. One of the major problems is radioactive waste. What will we do with it? Put it somewhere else, just not here, everyone says. Not in my backyard. It has been decided that here in Gorleben, 420 barrels of nuclear waste will rest in peace for many, many years to come. Each barrel, a specially constructed container called a cester, contains as much radioactivity as over 20 Hiroshima bombs. With a temperature of 300 degrees Celsius at the center, this is really hot stuff. Perhaps, understandably, not everyone believes that this is a good idea. This is why only 2 casters have been transported to Gorleben so far. In April 1995, over 2,000 demonstrators tried to block the caster transport. 15,000 policemen were called in. The next year, the number of activists had increased to 10,000 and the number of police officers to 19,000. All of this was, of course, expensive, very expensive. The cost of protection measures alone was 90 million German marks. So what do we do now? More policemen next year? And even more in the future? And what about the decision itself? Was it wise? And can it be justified to future generations?
I think culture is absolutely fundamental as an architect of social change. We have been used in the past century or so in the West to think that only technology and perhaps then indirectly science is an agent of social change. But in fact, science and technology have created a changed world, but have not created a changed society. Einstein has said it very well, referring to the atomic bomb. He said the atomic bomb has changed everything in the world except our way of thinking. We can say that same thing again. All of our technologies, information technologies, energy technologies, automation, etc., have changed everything around us, but they have not affected or not fundamentally affected our values, our thinking, our emotions. And therefore we are now find ourselves in a world that we no longer fully understand. We no longer know how to behave in it, how to control, even though control is an old-fashioned word, but how to manage it in a way that it doesn't run away from us. There is a very great danger that this world will change faster than we can cope and create inhuman conditions. Already today, perhaps 1/3 of humanity is living in a state of poverty and unemployment or underemployment, and the problems of fresh water, of soil fertility, and of urban crowding, air quality, all of these are threatening perhaps 2/3 or 3/4 of mankind. Therefore, it's very important to learn to live in the world that we have created.
One of the main elements of a sustainable future is a reevaluation of the role that ideology has played up until now in the decisions we make about the use of human and material resources. I hold that the supreme value in creation is the human being, and that ideas and philosophies are to serve the human being, and not the human being to be a slave to the perpetuation of some idea or some ideology. I'm not saying that ideas and ideologies are not useful or necessary, but it is human beings who are to be served by ideologies and not human beings to be sacrificed for the preservation of ideologies. And I think this is what has given us so many problems, is the fact that we sacrifice the quality of human relationships, what I call authentic relationships. We sacrifice authentic human relationships for some other notion, such of course in the capitalist countries of the short-term profit. And even now, people are beginning to realize that even the material economy itself is being destroyed by putting all of this emphasis just on maximizing competition and the short-term profit. So this may optimize the economy in some sense, but it doesn't optimize the human being. So these are the sorts of things that I consider to be the greatest enemies of sustainability, is when these ideologies are blindly followed because they're held to be some kind of principle that is inviolate, rather than making decisions on the basis of what actually optimizes authentic human relationships.
We can change something. I mean, what we can do is think a little bit more. I mean, we can think about how to take resources. That's the first thing. And where from we can take it. This will decrease the amount of transportation. And the next thing is that we should change our processes. We have to use resources much more efficiently. That's very important, because then we don't need to think about only this end-of-pipe solution. We have the process which will use lots of resources, the whole amount of resources, and will produce just a little bit of waste. And we don't need to think about this waste as waste at all, because then we can take them as another resource for another production.
And this can be really important for the eastern part of the region, because that's where we have really polluting industries.
Wir sagen ja, dass im Laufe der Zeit die Wirtschaft weniger Masse und weniger Energie verbrauchen soll bei gleicher Dienstleistung, bei vergleichbaren Dienstleistungen. Das heißt, es würde weniger Masse und Energie durch die Wirtschaft durchlaufen, und das bedeutet natürlich, dass hinten weniger auskommt. Das heißt, so wie wir die Masse absenken, würden auch die Gesamtzahl aller Stoffe absinken und darunter auch Gefahrstoffe. Man kann sogar, wenn man die Technik verändert, ganz gezielt die Gefahrstoffe noch verringern.
І сёння падчас міжнароднай канферэнцыі, калі абмяркоўвалася пытанне аб удзеле грамадскасці дзеля доступу да экалагічнай інфармацыі, удзеле грамадскасці ў працоўцы рашэнняў, звязаных з устойлівым развіццём, шмат гаварылася аб тым, што розныя колы грамадскасці павінны ўдзельнічаць у гэтым. Перш за ўсё, гэта неўрадавыя арганізацыі, якія працуюць дзеля выхаду з экалагічнага крызісу. Таксама гэта універсітэты, таксама гэта мас-медыя. Прыводзіўся прыклад, што ў Беларусі, калі ішла выпрацоўка нацыянальнай стратэгіі устойлівага развіцця, праз сродкі масавай інфармацыі нічога не паведамлялася для грамадскасці. Гэта вялікі жаль, і я мяркую, што пры выпрацоўцы нацыянальнай стратэгіі, нацыянальнага плана дзеяння, гэта памылка будзе выпраўлена. І я магу сказаць, што падчас заканчэння працы над нацыянальнай стратэгіяй у рэшце рэшт неўрадавыя арганізацыі былі запрошаны, і незалежныя эксперты, і вучоныя былі запрошаны. Але я мяркую, што сіла любой нацыянальнай стратэгіі, сіла любой нацыянальнай палітыкі будзе больш моцнай, калі у ёй, у працоўцы яе, будуць удзельнічаць як мага больш людзей і больш мага спецыялістаў. І таму я спадзяюся, што яшчэ гэту і стратэгію, і нацыянальны план дзеяння мы зможам палепшыць, каб яна была лепшай дзеля нашай Беларусі.
Det är min vision att det här området ska ha kunnat ta vara på de många olika typer av resurser som ett uthålligt samhälle kräver. Därför att det rör sig då inte bara om fysiska resurser, vatten och luft och sådana saker, utan det rör sig också om att det fungerar för oss människor i vardagen, att det fungerar ekonomiskt, tidsmässigt, och att vi trivs med varandra och vill bo kvar.
Well, at the Rio conference, many people were very optimistic. And I remember I gave a kind of colder warning about the results so far, saying that yes, there is progress in many fields. There is some progress in some fields, but also in several areas, no progress at all. And I think I would repeat that now, 5 years later. But it means also that what I said is right, progress in many fields. For instance, the Montreal Protocol, which was really a breakthrough, means international cooperation to really fight the threats to the ozone layer. And also a new type of international agreement where majority decisions can be made. But in so many other areas, very little has been achieved with regard to international cooperation. We should use our money to increase, to use investment in areas where you really can have a cost-effective result. Now, if the international agreements are formulated to be cost-effective, we who have already achieved a high level of environmental quality can invest to reduce the pollution in those areas which are in great need. We are all affected by all pollution wherever in Europe it comes from.
I see it not as something that will happen, but as something that can be made to happen. There are many possibilities before us. We can create a world commonwealth of some kind, which is peaceful, which can guarantee sufficient resources for all people to live and to pursue their own ambitions, their own cultural values and beliefs. We could also create an inhuman world of dictatorship, or we could create an impoverished world where there will be resources only for a small fraction of the human population. Which of these worlds we will create, or which of them in between, is not yet decided. It's up to us. Therefore, it's not a question of trying to foresee the world. It's a question of seeing the possibilities and acting wisely so that the world that we do create will be favorable for human life and human well-being.
So we have come to an end of our theory series, but this is just the beginning of our mission, the Mission Possible, the mission of a change for the Baltic region to a sustainable Baltic region. Thank you for being with us this series of programs, and good luck with your contribution to our sustainable Baltic region.
Which areas are the most problematic ones? Which are the main burning issues in the near future?
Well, always population, energy is vital to how we can cope with the changes and the challenges before us. Knowledge, how to avoid population growth, which is excessive. Knowledge, how to save energy, to have energy efficient production processes, is a vital link to the future. Now, the spreading of knowledge, the spreading of insight is also a democratic challenge. This is why I believe that education, the spreading of technology, knowledge about technology and new solutions is really a vital aspect.
And what do you think the ordinary man and woman can do? Can they do anything at all?
Well, as I say, democracy is basic. It's only by standing together that people can make changes in their society based on a democratic responsibility, because we are all responsible for ourselves and each other. So it means be active in your own society, look at what is necessary, argue for change, and use your democratic rights on behalf of your children.